You mentioned Ukraine. Just quickly, from a media standpoint, Ukraine has taken the back page. And how much of a factor is that alone of not being on the attention of Americans or people worldwide mean that they have had a subsequent decrease in funding?
So I don't think the decrease in funding is less tied to their being on the back page of media.
Okay.
When we were together last year, we talked about how the Western world would tire of supporting Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we also talked about how Ukraine had its own issues with corruption that nobody was acknowledging. Remember that conversation?
Yeah.
Well, all of their issues with corruption became very apparent in the last 12 months. So they had a new minister of defense because their previous minister of defense was corrupt. They just turned over within the last few weeks their head of cybersecurity because their head of cybersecurity was under corruption charges, right? So like all that money that was pumped into Ukraine in the first 18 months of the war, people are now willing to publicly acknowledge it has disappeared. And they can't account for it. They don't know where it's gone. And plenty of people have gotten rich and the black market is thriving. So now that is the biggest part of why Europe and the United States have lost interest in continuing to fund. Because not only has it resulted in inflation and issues, economic issues and otherwise in Ukraine, in the US and Europe, not only has it hurt us to help Ukraine, but now Ukraine hasn't been able to deliver on the counteroffensive they wanted to deliver on, and is actually showing that they have and acknowledging their own corruption issues. That does not lend for a bright future for what they're trying to accomplish by solely existing off of the generosity of other countries.